Hey everybody, it's great to be back, and I've got Vishal Gupta with me. A couple of weeks ago, we met in San Francisco at Oracle's Open World,
That's right.
and we realized that banking obviously is such a big opportunity, and all these big companies that go ask you to set up heavy technology, heavy investments, and your return on that investment is going to probably take you 15 years or so. But here's a novel idea, and I'm saying I'm going to bet on it. It's going to change banking over the next decade. And the company's name is Teknospire, and what they're pitching is bank in a box, right?
Absolutely.
What's a bank in a box, Vishal?
Well, the bank in a box is a platform. Call it innovation in its own way, wherein we have bundled the whole solution such that the last mile, the bottom 2 billion people globally, and 450 million of them sitting right here in India. These are the people who live at last mile. When I say last mile, they are remote locations, tier 3, tier 4 towns, villages, and so on. Thanks to PMJDY, we have a lot of bank cards issued, a lot of bank accounts opened. But that's not where I feel financial inclusion or digitization ends. That's just the beginning of it. For digitization to take forward, all these guys at the last mile need to start having a tool in their hand.
Okay.
A digital tool, a digital interface, which they actually speaking already have. Our GSM penetration is like near 100%. GPRS penetration, smartphone penetration is growing. It's a myth when people say that the literacy at the last mile or in villages is an issue, because you find a lot of graduates out there who are running kirana stores, who are running small random errand jobs to make some money.
Correct.
So with bank in a box, I mean, our vision is not just financial inclusion. We are actually looking at social inclusion in a holistic manner, wherein we enable these banks, and there are few thousands of these banks in India today, roughly 2,800 such banks of the categories: district cooperative banks, rural banks, agriculture banks, MFIs, NBFCs, all these institutions. They are the ones who are serving the last mile, but they are all serving the last mile with the traditional, with the legacy platforms, which calls for setting a physical branch, which calls for hiring people like me and you to run those branches at the last mile. But people like us are happy in Bangalore, Mumbai, Delhi. We don't want to go to the last mile, right?
And it's only getting worse. Migration's happening to the cities. Yes.
Absolutely. And people are actually earning in the cities, and they're still sending money home. This is the remittance zone and another transaction set. So back to, bank in a box. So what exactly we are doing there is the key transaction sets that the last mile needs, that the consumer at the last mile needs. We are looking at digitizing those transaction sets using our platform. So it's a lean banking layer which works at the periphery of the existing core banking systems, whatever these guys might have today. So we are not here to shake the boat per se. Existing systems stay intact. We start layering the digital transformation layers around it. So digital transformation layers are all the channels. When I say channels, these are web interfaces, mobile app, USSD, SMS, depending upon the guys are looking at smartphone, feature phone, tablet, PC. It just works seamlessly on any of these interfaces. Now these guys who have already opened a bank account, let's start from PMJD.
Let's start from the basics. Let's say a small town in Jabalpur or something like that, and it's got a 800 square feet bank, and they have computers, but use Excel sheet even today. They have some form of digital presence, some form of internet.
Sure.
Right, but that and today with the banks being asked to digitize, it's not, these guys cannot afford technologies like Finacle or Microsoft or Oracle, right?
Yeah.
So that's the challenge,
Yeah.
which is what you want to say, that look, you can just sign up with us and we give you all the core banking plus other solutions, which you want to explain to us what they are.
Absolutely. So I guess that's a very good start, Vishal, what you're saying. So let's go to a rural area. So let's consider a 2 square kilometer area, one bank which operates in that area and caters to 20,000 people in that area today. So this bank account potentially has bank accounts for all these guys, but to do banking, all these guys still have to go to the physical branch today.
Correct.
And the typical banking transactions are money deposit, money withdrawal, and that's where the banking ends. Outside of this, every local micropayment, every local transaction is still happening on cash.
Correct. Your insurance.
Be it insurance, be it electricity bill
Loans,
payment, school fees payment, savings, micro loans that happen, payments that happens at merchant shops. Me and you can probably live on a plastic card all of our life, but these guys still work on cash. Reason being, the institutions there do not have this whole ecosystem that HSBC or Yes Bank or HDFC has given us in the urban cities. So at this place, what we are saying is, to this bank, we deploy our box, they start integrating with us, and this integration is not even months and years that traditionally has been known. It's cloud, it's on cloud as a service, it's available to bank. In a couple of days, the bank can go live with all these transactions. What we enable for these institutions or these people at the last mile is, outside of this banking, their day-to-day payments, which let's say is 30 to 40% of their spend around electricity, around airtime, around school fees payment, tax payments. Me and you do everything online. Why shouldn't they do?
Why
So
not?
they should do all of this using our technology once we are integrated and once these institutions start doing this.
So think about it. It's like a sign-up model.
Absolutely.
It's a SaaS model. You
Which
don't
the
have to
bank
set up
signs up
physical
with us.
infrastructure. That's
Absolutely.
it. They sign up and it's good to go. And all their consumers become digital. Not consumers, the accounts go digital.
Absolutely.
All
So
the customers, I mean.
all the customers who can start using their tools themselves, who are tech savvy enough that they can start doing transacting themselves, they will go immediate digital transformation. The ones who cannot still start using these tools themselves, they can go to a local Kirana store, and that Kirana store now can start working as a bank branch. So that digital branch feature, agency banking or digital branchless banking, is part of the suite.
You know, I want to ask you this question. There's the Airtels of the world, Vodafones of the world that this did M-Pesas and Kirana money or whatever, right? All Airtel money from the Kirana side. Why weren't financial inclusion is such a vast topic? Again, I keep going back to my favorite pet peeve. We're all islands of excellence. Right? Will this solve that? I want to ask you, is that the impact that you're trying to make?
Yeah, so I guess the key there to note is, Vishal, banking and catering to the last mile is traditionally done by these few thousands of institutions that I spoke about earlier. So the cooperative banks, rural banks, they are the ones who understand people at the last mile. Airtels of the world or the HDFCs of the world, they don't. I mean, they see it as a good transaction set to acquire. Still, the money continues to sit in the bank. From the bank, you move money to Airtel Money. And using Airtel Money, yes, there is a lot of convenience that these tools bring in, that you can do your payments digitally, and there is convenience factor that comes in. But that is still not banking. You are still not empowering the banks themselves, because end of the day, bankers are the ones who know what to do with the money and how to run a bank.
So the fundamental problem is it's still cash oriented. You're saying let's go move digital.
Absolutely.
Let's make the smaller towns go digital.
True.
And the bank in a box can help you do that.
Yeah,
That's
so
what you're saying.
It's a cloud hosted solution. The banks at the last mile signs up with us. They get all their channels exposed to their consumer. Their digital branches can start going live. Merchant payments can start happening at the QR code and the OTP level as compared to exchanging cash at the last mile. ATMs or POS machines are not existing there at all. So you start doing all this digitally now, and then especially in India, right? I mean, with our India stack operational, with multiple operating entities, NPCI having done such a wonderful work over the past few years, we are probably one of the most advanced financial
payment
hub
systems,
in the world, actually. So,
you want to care to explain to our audience why we are new, we are free of legacy like the countries in Europe and the USA, right? You want to explain why our technology is absolutely new in banking?
Yeah, so there I wouldn't shy away from saying, Vishal, that this is not really an innovation, so to say. So these kind of solutions probably existed, and they all existed in silos. Probably your favorite subject, that a lot of things happen in islands and in silos. Someone needs to start bringing them together. And that's exactly what we have done, right? So these banks, to go digital, they need to enable the consumer with right kind of channels.
True.
They need to enable the consumer and the bank to integrate into various kind of services to make digital payments seamlessly.
CASA,
insurance,
asset management.
Absolutely. They also need to enable the consumer to start doing offline merchant payments, also digitally. This is what me and you today do. This is exactly Bank in a Box does for the last mile institution. So call it more like, what HSBC or Paytm works with today as a technology stack. That's exactly what we are. But we are offering it as a service to these few thousands of institutions and probably tens of thousands of institutions across the globe who are serving the bottom 2 billion people. They simply sign up, they switch over to our technology, and they can stand at par with what an Airtel Money can do today and what an
at probably
HSBC
1/10 of the cost.
Probably 1/100th of the cost.
1/100th of the cost?
Yeah.
Interesting. That's because of the heavy technology. You know, the old technology is you need to have on-prem solutions. And they're heavy.
They are also moving towards cloud. The old technologies are also moving towards cloud. But yeah, I mean, that by design continues to be a multi-vendor ecosystem.
Yes.
You probably have 20 different vendors trying to put together 100 different applications to make a bank digitally transformed. That's exactly, I mean, if you look at, past 2 decades.
Interesting point.
If you look at past 2 decades, pick out a McKinsey or any other research report, it would talk about 2 billion people unbanked and not financially included. Pick something from this year, it still talks about 2 billion people.
It's remained the same for 2 decades, obviously.
Right? What's the issue? What's the concern there? I mean, the sole reason that we have learned from the ground, number one definitely remains the intent, but that intent has changed big time. A lot of people has moved on to the literacy path. There are aspirations to be digitally connected and see the bigger world. So people at last mile want it. But the bigger reason, which I guess we are looking at serving and which we have resolved in few countries. So we are deployed across 7 different countries today. We have 20 plus banks who work with us in Africa and in India. What we have done to them is we have helped them close their physical branches as much they can and expand digitally. So if you had 2 physical branches versus 200 digital branches, you can see the impact of your reach, right? You have given the tools in the hand of the consumer now. And this is an institution at the last mile who, in terms of technology, in terms of channels, in terms of services availability on their platform, is nothing less than an HDFC or Paytm or Airtel Money.
So you're saying that once this happens, what it will do is, the government's dream of a digital India will come through, and it'll bring people into the formal economy. It will ensure that all these other services, lots of Paytm and other companies offer, right? They will probably go there faster, better. True. Right? And the retailers can go there, Amazon, Future Group.
Absolutely. I guess for any business or any economy, any country to take the leap forward, digitization at the last mile, digitizing the economy at the last mile, which actually holds a lot of cash today. If you transform that piece, your economy is going to definitely jump to the next level. Consume any single service, it would ultimately end at a payment. If you can cut the friction there and digitize that payment leg, rest of the services are purely workflows, right?
Okay.
Then the Amazon can come in, then the Future Bazaar can come in. I mean, all these guys can essentially be digitally offering their products and services. Tools are already there.
True.
Branches are already there. And
also,
people are already
and
up
also
for
the
it.
whole host of small businesses that transact there on cash, that will also change.
Yeah, and especially, I mean, if in the recent news that you're looking at the whole RBI, MSME, microfinance articles, what's happening to that segment right now. The moment you digitize and look at all these micropayments also to be on a digital format, your whole analytics works much better. You know who is working in what area, what kind of services, what needs. I mean, there's a endless
list of things that you could do.
Absolutely.
You know, India has been a challenging market for you.
Sure.
You've grown globally.
Yeah.
But this country, you're just going to start growing now.
Sure.
You want to talk about some of the bottlenecks here towards getting those 3,000 odd cooperative societies come onto the platform. How do they discover you, number one?
Sure.
Because you're based in Bangalore, obviously, with this great technology. Sometimes I feel people in rural areas really don't understand how technology is progressing rapidly.
Sure.
Yes, I know they've caught on to entertainment. They've caught on to smartphones. Something like a banking is still being physical.
Yeah.
They still think you need that person on the other side that you could trust, a third party or so, and the bank is a third party, right?
Sure.
But that has to change.
Yeah, so I guess this transition, in a way, if I would want to answer, towards how the wallets industry over the past 6-10 years in India, and of course in Africa it has been around for a couple of decades now. That has brought in a lot of trust factor in. People have onboarded the digital transactions journey, but still they do not really see the wallets as the bank. So go to a last mile, a cooperative bank at a tier 4 town, you would be more happy to work with a Mohan Corporation Bank as against working with Airtel Money or Paytm Wallet.
Agreed.
Right? Because the moment you see bank, the trust comes in. But now the challenge, as I said earlier, this particular cooperative, Mohan Cooperative, does not have a technology that Paytm kinds have.
So, you guys out there, keep asking us whether, how these big branded names are growing in the country. But, if you go to the rural regions, they're happier to work with the cooperative banks than adapt to new technologies, right?
Sure.
Correct?
Absolutely.
And it is only imperative on our behalf to reach out to these old corporations, these old banking companies in these smaller towns. But are they willing to change?
Yeah, so there is a lot of resistance at large, but at the same time, I guess I see a lot of progressive ones as well. So of the ratio, if I would put, maybe there are 10-15% people, also the younger generations who are looking forward. Some of the old school people also are moving towards, and they see that the value is in digitization if they want to keep the business on. And a lot of microfinance companies have already transformed onto the digital channels and so on. But yeah, I mean, it's not something which would happen overnight, and it's not an easy journey. I believe I'm here with you today also for a reason that through your story, I tell my story to a wider
And the fact
audience.
that your product has been appreciated globally. You were on a global accelerator in San Francisco with Oracle, obviously. You have a lot of recognition from other people, right? And obviously, I think it's only a matter of time before you raise money and go out in the market. You're a 3-year-old company.
That's true. So I guess that's exactly where we are now. So at the stage where we are nearing our break-even window without having raised a single penny from outside investors. But at the same time, what we are looking at is towards the growth, and especially to go into these few thousand institutions in India and globally, we need to start putting our legs on ground. We need to start deploying people at these institutions, work very closely with them, set up this cloud-based pilot models and stuff like that, so that they see the system, they see how beneficial it is for them, and then they would transform. But yeah, we trying channels to reach out through digital media, through newspapers, through various government-initiated forums. Financial inclusion teams at the center level. We are writing to Prime Minister's office that this is what we can do. We are writing to financial inclusion teams at the center level that PMJDY has made an impact to a great level. Now we can
let
take
the technology make the impact.
Absolutely. We can take the next mile from
So if you guys have uncles, aunts working in banks, dads, moms, you can actually tell them to check out Teknospire, right?
That's right.
And how do you spell Teknospire again?
It's techno with a K, so TEKNOSPIRE.com.
.com, right? Go check them out. Ask your parents to go influence the managers and others.
That would be lovely. That would be lovely.
Right? And I'll tell you why. Because my mother was a banker, and I spent a lot of time in Syndicate Bank in the 80s.
Sure.
Watching. I mean, I used to see these big ledgers that she used to fill.
Sure.
Now, I think they still do it in cooperative societies today. And although they have an Excel sheet or in obviously a small desktop, I think people are still comfortable writing.
So they do write, but at the same time, as I said earlier, many of these smaller banks have these subsidized platforms from the bigger banks, the sponsor banks, or they essentially have a tier 3, tier 4 technology vendor who is provided them a solution.
A third party, and it's not user friendly. So, but do they get
It doesn't address everything that we want to be addressed like it is addressed to me.
The key things for banking are reconciliation, reporting, and regulatory. Right? That's what you provide in a box too.
So that's definitely is part of the transactional banking. So you can't ask a bank to go from traditional banking to transactional banking and not address reconciliation, reporting, and regulatory. So these are 3 back office modules, which are also again on the same structure, cloud hosted. Bank doesn't really have to worry about any transactions that this. So bank just need to make sure that they open the channels, they offer the new services, and they count more money, because that's what they are good at. Technology, they should just leave it to us.
Correct. By the way, the credentials that he's got, he's been an entrepreneur 4 times now.
Yes.
4 times, and by the way, he's also he's one of the starting teams of Airtel, right? In a small room, just like this studio.
I was very early on there. I used to sell feature phones, the Nokia 9110s.
Back then, they were just a trading company, weren't they?
Absolutely. So I used to work with one of the distribution leg as well. Used to sell phones in Chandni Chowk, escorts. I did some big deal, but yeah, those were early days. I was also one of those guys who were powering on one of the early base stations of Airtel in Model Town and Southex and stuff like that.
Interesting. What was it like working with Sunil at the time?
Oh, he was a leader, man. I mean, that's how he has been, and that's how we see him even today. I mean, starting from where I saw it, and I was just a kid out of college. I'm talking 22 years back, and where Airtel stands today, it's one of the global company. I just wish I was there. I would not be sitting for YourStory meeting.
Why not? I mean, if people are influential with Sunil to fund Teknospire, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, corporates in India should go after such startups because they're really challenging the existing old legacy ecosystems, which is for the better. And
Sure.
I think we should all progress as a society. And Teknospire's Bank in a Box, we as YourStory bet that it'll change banking in a decade. And how do they contact you?
So I am reachable. My phone numbers are 988-670-1997. Feel free, call me. I mean, I would love to solve the problem, right? I mean, this issue that we are talking of, the financial inclusion, digitization at the last mile, this has become passion for me. This is something which I would like to see, that of the 2 billion people, even if I could change few 100 million people in my lifetime, I would love it. And that's where I would urge you all. I guess Vishal has done enough, wherein he's asking, go tell your mom, dad, uncles who are bankers that we can help. But yes, I mean, this is just not India. I guess it's clearly a global issue. We want to solve it. In India, we are just with 2 small institutions at this moment, but we would want to get into the thousands of them, bring them at par.
By the way, this is the first time that an entrepreneur has shared his mobile number. Do get back to him for positive feedback. Don't troll him, right? And do support the company. Vishal, you've been wonderful.
Thank you
And I
so
hope to
much.
host you soon. And I hope you raise money and all the best to you.
Thank you so much,
Thanks,
Vishal,
guys.
for having me.